There were bodies that would be decomposing in the garage. The smell was always bad. If he did try to keep bodies cool in the summer, he would put them in the embalming room and just turn the window unit air conditioning on.
Tiffany Mansourides says she has nightmares about what she witnessed when she worked for Vereb Funeral Homes in Hazelwood and Natrona Heights.
There were humans out on cots in the garage with the dead animals that were just there. It wasn't temperature controlled at all.
She quit and reported her boss, Patrick Vereb, to police. A second former employee also quit and talked to police. She didn't want to go on camera, but tells 11 Investigates she spent hours talking to investigators. Both women say they saw bodies lying on this freight elevator in the embalming room and the garage for days.
So they would be marbling and visibly decomposed at times.
11 Investigates confirmed state law requires a body to be embalmed or refrigerated within 24 hours of death. Mansourides says these invoices show Vereb was charging families refrigeration fees for bodies that were going to be cremated, sometimes hundreds of dollars per person.
He didn't have refrigeration. He would charge people to refrigerate bodies that he wasn't refrigerating.
11 Investigates tracked down Patrick Vereb, who is already facing charges for mishandling animal remains. We found him living with a relative and tried to ask him about the allegations involving human bodies.
Hi, are you Patrick?
No, sorry.
But it sure looks a lot like him from this archived video on his website. His lawyer wouldn't talk to us either. But both former employees say they tried to tell a state investigator what they say they saw, but they didn't have a lot of confidence in him.
He seemed more irritated that he had to spend time with us, and then he cut us off.
Both former employees say there were no follow-ups.
He kept emphasizing that he was getting ready to retire and that this would be a lot of work, and it was kind of uncomfortable and discouraging.
We tracked down that retired investigator by phone. He told us he hired a lawyer but would not give us his name. A spokesperson for the Pennsylvania Department of State tells us their policies do not allow them to confirm or deny the existence of an investigation or comment on personnel. But the agency did say it, quote, encourages any member of the public who suspects a practitioner is violating professional standards and governing law to file a complaint on the department's website.
Coverage you can count on.
What happened to my mom? You know? Well, what's going on? What happened?
11 Investigates is hearing from families across Western PA following our exclusive reporting on new allegations against a funeral director already facing charges for mishandling pet remains. 11 Investigates broke the story yesterday about another investigation into Patrick Vereb, this time involving human remains.
And after our report aired, families who use Patrick Vereb for funeral or cremation services are reaching out, asking what happened to their loved ones. 11 Investigates' Amy Hudak is live now here in the studio once again with the closure they are looking for, Amy.
Yeah, just in the past 24 hours, we've heard from about a half a dozen families who all have questions. They use Patrick Vereb and they want answers. They want to know if their loved ones' remains are all there and if they belong to them or somebody else. One local family says they're even going to test their mother's ashes.
I've gone through upset stomach, confusion, just wanting to cry, just angry.
Susan Rua says she has felt it all, thinking about her mom, Dorothy Rua, who passed away in April of 2024. She says her first impression of Patrick Vereb was memorable for all the wrong reasons.
He had no employees with him, so my family members had to wrap her in a sheet and carry her down 4 flights of steps.
Then there was what happened at his Hazelwood funeral home.
I asked to see my mom the one last time, and he said I wasn't allowed to.
When he would not let you go back, did you question what's going on back there?
In my head, yes.
Susan wasn't watching TV last night when 11 Investigates broke the story about new allegations human remains were also mishandled by Patrick Vereb, but her brother was.
He called me, he saw the newscast. He said that man's on TV again. I was really concerned because I figure this woman died with no dignity.
11 Investigates has pressed the Department of State for information about where this investigation stands. We learned a state investigator was assigned to the case a year ago, but then retired. We got a hold of him by phone. He said he has a lawyer and can't comment. Susan isn't waiting. She's already working to get the answers her family deserves.
Do you think you'll have her remains tested?
Yes.
Just so you've got some?
Yes. Just some closure on, is that my mom?
And as for the criminal case into the pet fraud allegations, a second judge has now recused herself from the case, so it's going to a third judge. And since we're talking about thousands of potential victims, we asked the state attorney general's office if they're considering changing the venue. They say they're leaving that up to the courts. Reporting live in the studio, Amy Hudak, Channel 11 News.
It was disbelief. A lot of no, this can't be. Oh my goodness.
After 11 Investigates broke the story that a local funeral director, already facing charges for mishandling pets, is also under investigation for abusing human remains, families have been flooding our team with questions about their loved ones. And that includes a family who pulled out their records and found some troubling discrepancies. 11 Investigates' Amy Hudak reports on what led them to contact law enforcement.
This was her all the time. She always had a smile on her face.
That smile stayed with Margaret Smaglow even as she battled an aggressive form of breast cancer in her 90s. Through her treatments, her beloved Barnaby was by her side.
Oh, Barnaby was her little nurse during her cancer treatments. The two of them would sit and watch TV together.
When Barnaby passed away, Margaret wanted Patrick Vereb to handle his remains and make a memorial frame.
Oh, she said, look what a beautiful, I mean, we can see him up here. What a beautiful job they did, the little paw print and his picture. And when I die, that's who I want to take care of me.
In July of 2024, at the age of 99, Margaret passed away peacefully. Her daughter remembered what her mom told her.
If he took such good care of Barnaby, he'll take good care of me too. Little did we know.
Less than a year later, Vereb was charged by the Attorney General's office for mishandling the remains of 6,500 animals over several years. Investigators say instead of cremating pets, he dumped them in a landfill.
Of course, I had a fleeting thought of Barnaby, but the worst thing was my mom. My first thought was, is that my mom in that urn? Is there somebody else in there with her or a pet in there with her? Do I have all of her ashes?
As she opened the folder with paperwork from Vereb, all of the sadness of losing her mom came flooding back.
It just brought her death back again. It was very upsetting to think that she may have been mishandled like the animals were.
Her records show 5 days went by between the time Margaret Smaglow's body was brought to Vereb's funeral home and her cremation. Under state law, a body must be embalmed or refrigerated within 24 hours of death. But 11 Investigates learned Vereb's funeral home had no refrigeration.
Where was she for the 5 days? She passed on the 11th and wasn't cremated until the 16th. Where were her remains during that time?
In April, Laura called the Pennsylvania Attorney General's office.
Spoke with the gentleman there and I told him about my concerns with my mother's cremation. And he said, well, we're not investigating that right now, but you can write us a letter. I made copies of everything to send to them, along with my letter and my concerns, and I didn't hear anything back.
It's now been 5 months, and 11 Investigates has heard from other families who have also contacted the Attorney General's office with their concerns.
I think they pushed it aside. I think if I was the only one that wrote to them, maybe they didn't think that it was worth investigating at this point.
If your mom knew that you were sitting here fighting for answers for her, what do you think she would think about this?
She knew that I was a fighter for things, and go ahead, fight to make it right.
Laura says she might not ever know if her mom's ashes are hers or all of hers, but she said she will make sure her mom's story is heard. We asked her what keeps her going.
I think what it boils down to is my faith has kept me going, and I know where my mom is, and I know where I'll see her again one day. But I think Barnaby's with her.
Amy Hudak, Channel 11 News.
And 11 Investigates reached out to the Pennsylvania Attorney General's office but did not immediately hear back. When previously asked about criminal cases, the office said it's not able to confirm or deny the existence of an investigation.
This woman died with no dignity.
11 Investigates exclusively confirming a state investigation into a funeral director already charged with fraud.
A lot of people had filed complaints, and they said that they were dismissed.
Patrick Vereb was charged in April for mishandling the remains of 6,500 pets over several years.
Of course, I had a fleeting thought of Barnaby, but the worst thing was my mom.
Now state investigators are looking into his handling of human clients.
Sure enough, my brother-in-law's in a Ziploc bag with no crematory tag.
11 Investigates' Amy Hudak has worked on this story for months and joins us live in studio now with a major update in this case. Amy.
Lisa, only 11 Investigates learned new investigators with the Department of State are interviewing people who filed complaints concerned their loved ones' remains were mishandled. We know this because a woman we previously interviewed met with investigators, then sat down to talk to us.
I didn't come away thinking they really didn't care about what I was saying.
Charlene Bailey didn't think investigators would call so quickly to meet with her for an interview. When we first met Charlene, she had questions, a lot of them, about her brother-in-law's ashes. Earl Bailey was cremated at a different funeral home, but Charlene, who used Patrick Vereb for her family pets, asked him to make a memorial frame back in 2015. When she learned she was a victim of Vereb's alleged crimes against pets, she opened Earl's untouched urn.
Sure enough, my brother-in-law's in a Ziploc bag with no crematory tag.
Charlene says that's not how the ashes were given to Vereb. She reported her concerns to the Bureau of Enforcement and Investigation, a division of the Department of State, and was just interviewed by 2 investigators.
They asked questions that gave me the feeling that they want this information. They want to pursue this.
Charlene handed over Earl's death certificate and provided every document she had.
He wanted pictures of all that. He wanted pictures of the frame. He wanted pictures of Earl. He wanted pictures of the Ziploc bag. You know, he wanted all that information. They asked me if I would be willing to testify in Harrisburg.
The investigator also told Charlene she was the first person to file a complaint.
I was really surprised because it was my understanding through others that have had the same issue that there had been other complaints filed and that they were just dismissed.
We learned a different investigator with the Bureau of Enforcement and Investigation met with Vereb and 2 of Vereb's former employees a year ago. That includes the woman whose allegations led to the Attorney General's office investigation into the mishandling of pets. She said she felt blown off.
And he kept emphasizing that he was getting ready to retire and that this would be a lot of work.
No charges were ever filed. Charlene says that was not her experience with these new investigators. She wants people to know there is an avenue to report your concerns and to be taken seriously.
They told me that I did the right thing by filing the complaint, and that they thought that if one person came forward, others would as well. That's the thing that I hope happens.
So, Amy, now that she has met with those investigators, what happens next at this point?
Well, it's important to mention that investigators with the Bureau of Enforcement and Investigation actually cannot press charges. So what they'll do, they'll interview anyone who files a complaint. Then they will interview Patrick Vereb himself. They will present all of those findings over to the State Attorney General's office, who will make the final determination. We do want to mention, if you're concerned about how your loved one was handled, we have a link to the complaint form on WPXI.com. In the studio, Amy Hudak, Channel 11 News.
All right, thank you for staying on top of this, Amy. And if you have anything that you would like our team to look into, you can always email 11investigates@WPXI.com. We also have a form on our website.